Britain covered up tainted blood scandal that killed thousands, says the report. It's become quite a scandal in the UK. It has gotten a little bit of press coverage now in the United States. The British government did not put patient safety first. Really? Wow. Who would have thought? I'm just so destroyed. My confidence and my faith in government has just really been shaken. Unfortunately, a lot of people died. More than 3,000 deaths, more than 30,000 infections, according to a 2,527-page final report by a former judge from the High Court who investigated this. The National Health Service in Britain allowed blood that was tainted with HIV and hepatitis to be used on patients without their knowledge. And it went on for decades, led to thousands of deaths, tens of thousands of injuries. And they slow-walked this whole thing. At first I saw this, I thought, is this COVID? No, this was between 1970 and 1991. We're going back 30 to 50 years ago. I guess this is one of the reasons why the FDA and Pfizer wanted to embargo, their incriminating evidence about how they colluded to kill people for money, They wanted to embargo that for 65, 70 years or something. Patients were exposed through a variety of methods, including blood transfusions or given blood plasma or other blood products to treat conditions like hemophilia. So you go in for hemophilia and they give you hepatitis tainted blood. Now, the problem is that most of this came from Britain, but some of it also involved products from the USA. Yes, our blood supply has been tainted for 50 years as well. Nobody is paying any attention to it, just like the FDA doesn't care about what is injected into our blood, the vaccines and things like that. In several cases, health officials lied about the risks to patients. In others, patients were infected during research without their knowledge or consent, including children whose parents' consent was not even sought. They didn't even seek the consent of the parents. Where are we seeing that now? Well, everywhere in our government, right? They got something they want to do to your kids. If they want to vaccinate them, we had these moves to say that, COVID is just so serious that the kids they told us at the beginning, were not at risk. If the kids want to get the vaccine because we have lied to them, because we've nudged them, because we've used propaganda on them, if the kids want to get the vaccine, then we need to get the parents out of the way. This is the way we stop this thing. And so they don't want your parental consent when it comes to pushing LGBT content on your kindergarten child or any of the rest of this stuff. It is a war on parents as well, and a war on consent. They don't want the adults to have informed consent, so why would they talk to the parents about what they're doing to the children? They don't want the parents to have. The parents are the ones who make the decision, but informed consent is out the window. And so is the whole idea of first do no harm. So again, some of these tainted blood products were imported from the United States, often in the form of treatment for people with hemophilia. So this judge's report, his name is Langstaff, his report found serious failures when it came to screening donors, including collecting blood from prisons and other things like that. The answer to the question, was there a cover-up, is that there has been. Not in the sense of a handful of people plotting in an orchestrated conspiracy to mislead, as we see with the COVID thing, but in a way that was more subtle, more pervasive, more chilling in its implications. In order to save face and to save expense, there has been a hiding of much of the truth, wrote the judge, Langstaff. Well, and that's part of it. Okay. And I think the truth is that when you look at these conspiracies, there's somebody that was high up that decided, well, we got to have financial, this is costing us too much. We need to look better. We need to look like we're saving money or whatever. Or we can't manage this. And we know there's problems, so don't let anybody know about it. Whatever their motivation was. There's going to be some people at the very top who are going to conspire to conceal the truth from people that they should know. And the rest of the people will just do it, like you said, in a more subtle, pervasive, and chilling way by going along because they don't want to rock the boat, because they don't want to mess up their career, which is really kind of what these people at the top are doing as well. To save face, to save expense, there was a hiding of the truth. He said over decades, successive governments repeated lines to take that were inaccurate, defensive, and misleading. So this is going over a 50-year period. And they've had the government in the UK led by all these different political parties, just as we have, right? These types of bureaucratic abominations go on and on, regardless of who the political party, political parties come and go, and these politicians come and go. But the people who run the government in the UK, just as here, are the bureaucrats. You know, just take a look at Yes Minister, right, out of the UK. It's a great comedy that was there. In 1997, the Commission of Inquiry on the Blood System in Canada published its report, which found that the federal government and health officials were aware of the risks of HIV and hepatitis transmission, and around 8,000 people died in Canada. And, of course, they caught this thing 30 years ago. 30,000 people were infected with hepatitis. 2,000 got HIV during the 1970s and 80s in Canada as well. Now, the interesting thing, I think, is that there has been absolutely no concern about this in the United States. Mainstream media will cover it, say, well, you know, what's going on with the blood supply? And, of course, I've had on many times people who are trying to do so, who are focused on the blood supply now, because we know that mRNA is circulating in the blood of a lot of people who took the jab, and we don't want to get that. But, of course, the Red Cross has said they're not going to screen for that. Perhaps they're not screening for hepatitis and other things as well. Because, again, they admit that a lot of this stuff that was tainted came from the United States, but there will be no inquiry here. And there will be no concern about mRNA. And they're not even talking about that in Canada and the UK, where they're talking about this other scandal. This 50 years ago. But you better be thinking about it. And, but, you know, when we look at what's going to happen to any of these people, not much at all.
The David Knight Show is a critical thinking super spreader. If you've been exposed to logic by listening to the David Knight Show, please do your part and try not to spread it. Financial support or simply telling others about the show causes this dangerous information to spread farther. People have to trust me. Trust the science. Wear your mask. Take your vaccine. Don't ask questions.
Using free speech to free minds. It's the David Knight Show.